Hello and welcome. In today's exciting episode, I make two spooky season shirts. One is purple and orange, and the other one's got creepy crawlies and forest things all over it. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. Okay, now bear with me for the first a few minutes because I accidentally deleted some footage. So I'm making two shirts. There's the mushroom and bugs one with the big puffy sleeves, and the orange and purple one is shirt B with the plain short 3/4 length sleeves. So this is the purple one, and I've cut everything out. So I've got the cuffs, the 3/4 sleeves, the collars, the two collar bands, as well as the whole of the torso of the jacket, which is two fronts and one back. And with the mushroom one, as you can see, it's sort of partially done. With the mushroom one, it's got the big, huge puffy sleeves, and yes, the print is sideways, but it's the only way I could fit this print. So I'm doing this voiceover narration after it's completed, and you sort of can see that it's sideways, but not really. You just see that it's got this exact same print as the body as the shirt. And because it's so puffy and pleated. But so please don't get confused by that. So the first thing you do once you've cut out your pieces is that in the front you do a stay stitch around the collar line, around the front and the back, the two front and the back pieces. And then on the front piece, you turn the placard. It's not actually a sew-on placard, it's just an extra bit of fabric, and you fold it under once, fold it over once, and then you fold it under, so it's sort of twice folded. So instead of ironing on interfacing or something like that, it's just basically 3 layers of fabric instead of one, and then you stitch that down. So now we've got the stay stitching done, we've got the placards done, and you also have to stay stitch around the back. So the next thing is, the instructions tell you to do is to stitch the darts. So you have to pin them first. There's 2 breast darts in the front. So I've just pinned them, and there's also 2 big ones in the back. So I've also sort of, I started pinning them. So I've pinned, so it's sort of folded in. There's 2 darts, and so they're equidistant. So I've sort of pinned the bottoms of them, and I've pinned the top, and then you sort of just have to measure where the bottom, it goes out in the middle, and then it goes back in at the top. It's a complex dart. So I put pins in all the positions so I know where to sew, and then I sewed them and ironed them out. So once they're all pressed and looking beautiful, then I pinned the top of the fronts and the top of the backs together, and I stitched them together, and then I machine sewed them together, and then I pressed that out as well. So now I'm just showing you all my beautifully pressed darts. The back ones are pressed towards the center, and the front darts are pressed downwards. So here is my machine sewn shoulder seam. The instructions tell you to do the shoulder seams and the side seams, but Angela Clayton, a sewing YouTuber, says that you should just do the top seam, the shoulder seam, and then attach the collar. So we're going to do that one. And I don't have the footage of the beige mushroom one, me constructing the collar for that. So here's the purple and orange one. So you can see on the left there is my beige collar already made. So you need 2 collar bits, and you need 2 collar bands. And with the collar and 1 band, one of each, you have to iron on interfacing to one of each of them. Then you sew the 2 collars together, right sides together. Then you cut down the seam allowance, cut it in half, and turn it out and press it. As you can see with my beige bugs and mushrooms one, I did a 3D collar, which I don't know, I just thought it was something cool to do. And the sleeves are so puffy, I thought it could, yeah, if I experimented with a 3D collar, it wouldn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, now that once you've got the collar done, the next thing is to attach the collar stand to the collar. So there's 2 collar stands. Make sure I prefer to do the stiffer one, the one with the interfacing, so that it's underneath. But if you prefer to do it so that it's over the top, just make sure you know which one. And then one side with the collar stand, you have to iron up the what will be the seam allowance, because that's not going to be machine sewed. And then the other side you just leave, and then you sew them all together. And then you have to, once you machine sew the collar stands onto the collar. Okay, so I've machine sewn the collar bands onto the collars. So everything's all one bit now. So you just cut down the seam allowance in there, cut it right down to reduce bulk, and then you press everything. And now it is time to attach the collar bands to the jacket, sorry, so used to talking about jackets, to the actual shirt. And as I said, I've left the side ones open just because I'm just experimenting with this new way. The purple and orange shirt is I sewed that up first, and then I'll be attaching the collar much later, so I'll be able to tell you which method I prefer. But for now, we will pin the collar bands with the collar attached onto the torso of the jacket. Shirt. The collar of the body of the shirt. I know we're making a shirt. Anyway, yeah, this is the first one I made, and I found the collar a little bit difficult to do just because it's been a decade since I made a collar. And yeah, this one did pin on quite well, but I just find it so off-putting to have the side seams open. I know that most people love doing French seams for the side seams because it means they can just throw it in the wash and sort of treat it roughly, and it won't, the stitches won't tear or anything like that. But yeah, I tried this way, and I think that's good to try new things. But yeah, I really like the couture way of doing things. The rules of couture say that you only use machine to do long seams, like structural seams, and that's it. The rest has to be hand stitched. So yeah, you're supposed to hand stitch. You're supposed to pin this collar band here, the collar, and you're supposed to pin everything down and then flip the pins over so that they're on the outside, and then you're supposed to sew it using a machine. But yeah, I really dislike using a sewing machine for anything apart from structural long seams. And yeah, so I think I'm just I'll pin it as you're supposed to pin it, but then I think I'll hand sew it just because I'm just much more comfortable doing it that way. And yeah, it's still sort of, I don't know, it really irks me that the side seams are left undone. I think it's because I've literally spent the last decade making jackets out of very, very expensive materials, and tweeds, the more expensive they are, the looser woven they are, generally speaking, so they fray if you leave the seam open. And yeah, I think that's why I found this way of construction so unnerving, because yeah, I just had all these seams that weren't. Anyway, so after I finished the collar and I hand sewed it, the next thing is to pin the side seams together, and then you machine sew them, and then you press them, and you just finish the seams how you want. But I tuck the raw seams under and then hand stitch them on, and here are my beautiful hand finished seams. I mean, do whatever you want, really, whatever you like best. Some people don't mind having a bulky, hard seam, a machine seam, and I just really love, like, every time I open a jacket or open take a shirt down from the wardrobe, you just sort of catch a glimpse of how you've done your seams. And I love the way these ones are finished. Anyway, so I've put them up on I also finished the orange and purple one. And yeah, I'm just so much more comfortable when I've done the long seams first and then I put the collar in. I did like making the collar much earlier rather than doing the torso of the shirt and then making the collar. I think from now on, I'll right at the start when I'm pinning the darts, at that point I will also prepare the collar so that that's ready to go. So I did find that much easier. But yeah, so here we are. They're both ready to have the sleeves done on them now. And oh my God, I just love the collar on that beige one. It's a bit tragic, and yeah, I'm not sure it's 100% successful, but I really do love it. Now it is time to do the sleeves. First of all, you just fold them in half and do the sleeve seam. It's just a one-piece seam, so this is really quite simple. Fold it in half, pin, then machine sew. Once that's done, press and then tuck the raw seam edge under and hand stitch them down. And once you've hand stitched it down, the next thing is to do the cuff. So first you pin halfway and then you turn that into a box pleat. And then I use a ruler just to get the measurement. And then you do one on either side. So like a center one and then two sort of dividing again. And then once you've done them, then you pin a facing or a inside cuff to the cuff of your sleeve. And then you just carefully pin the box pleats so that they won't go the wrong way when you're sewing. And then you sew them, and then you turn out your facing or the little cuff bit, and then you undersew it carefully around so that all the seams sit the correct way, and when you turn it out, the cuff will sit properly. And then just to make sure it all does, you just pin all the pleats in place while holding the facing also with the pin on the inside. I'll just sort of scooch the camera down so you can see what I mean. So all the layers there, and then now what you have to do is hand stitch the facing down on the inside. So I've pinned both sleeves, the cuffs of both sleeves, and I'll carefully do the hand stitching now. Okay, the cuffs are done. Now it is time for the top of the sleeve, and it's basically the same. I've got 3 big box pleats and then 2 smaller pleats. So first, again, you just do your center pleat in the middle of the shoulder of your sleeve, and I use a ruler just to work out how big my pleat is going to be, and then I turn it into a box pleat, so you sort of split it and lay it flat in an even way. And then I do, there's markings in the pattern. There's like little points that you have to match up. And yeah, I just do 2 more pleats on either side of those and turn them into box pleats. And then, so I've done that. And then next there's so now we've got 3, and then in between all 3 box pleats, I do 2 smaller pleats, and then I also turn them into teensy little box pleats. So we've got 3 large box pleats, and in between them 2 little ones, and that's it. Now the circumference of the sleeve is the same as the circumference of the sleeve hole, and it's time to set the sleeves. And if you're doing shirt B with the 3/4 sleeves and they're not puffy, they're just a plain sleeve, then the process is even simpler, which is what I'm doing with the purple and orange one. So you just cut and you sew them together, the 2 sides together. Then you press them and press under the raw seam and hand stitch that, then press it again. And now it's time to do the cuff. So First, you have to press the cuff in half so you know where the actual cuff line is and which is the inside and which is the actual cuff. And then you have to sew the edges, so the sides together, and clip them, clip the corners, turn it in the correct way, press again. Then on one side of the cuff, you have to turn under the seam allowance and press that. And then once you've done that, with the other side that doesn't have it pressed under, pin the right side of that with the right side of the sleeve, and once they are pinned, very carefully machine sew them. That part of the cuff is quite narrow, so yeah, go slowly. And once it's done, here it is, then you turn it out and then you press it and then you pull the whole sleeve inside out. And now is the time that you have to hand stitch that the side of the cuff that you've iron down, you now have to hand stitch that. And once that's done, turn it out again and your sleeve is ready to be set onto the body of the shirt. Okay, so I've gotten the shirts down, and here we have the two standard plain sleeves, so 3/4 sleeves. And yeah, I've decided normally I ease them in, and so there's just a little bit around the top and I sort of ease them in, but I think I'm sort of on a pleat binge at the moment, so I think with the little amount of ease I'll just do a small pleat. So when you're putting your sleeves in, there's a double notch at the back, and that's how you tell which is left and which is right. So I've put this in, and yeah, I'm trying to decide whether to put my pleat outwards or inwards. This is the boxy one. I'm worried with this one that it does look very nice, but I'm worried because it's just a plain narrow sleeve that it will hit the shoulder a little too hard, like there won't be enough room. So I think I'll invert it and do it the other way around, and that way it just stretches more easily. And yeah, if you watch my last video on pleats, you'll get what I'm talking about. But otherwise it's probably not that fascinating. So I just set the sleeves, so pin the sleeve and the sleeve stye together. Then I very carefully machine sew them to make sure all the box pleats didn't get sort of pushed wrongly or anything like that. And then I checked it, turned it out and checked it, and then I sewed around it again. The instructions tell you to sew the second row of machine stitching just a few millimeters apart from the other one, and then trim it right down. But I'm just going to finish it the way I finish things, which is the old-fashioned way. But yeah, each their own. And here we go. So I machine sew the other one too, obviously. And yeah, then I just sort of then I finish these seams. And here we are. Oh, that collar, I just love it. It's so completely daggy, but because the sleeves are so puffy and big, I feel like it balances out that collar. So here's the picture just to show you what they're supposed to look like. Both of them are supposed to look like. And here they are. I'm so happy with the way that they turned out. Obviously, I still have to hem the bottom. I haven't done that yet, but I'm so happy with these beautiful puffy sleeves. And I don't think you can really tell that the sleeves are sideways. I do love that they're opposite. So the mushroom caps and the mushroom, I think that's a really nice detail. And this is the other sleeves. So these are the ones, they sort of remind me of a rose. Oh, hang on a sec. This is the sort of rose I mean. It's, the way that the pleats are all on top of each other, it really reminds me of these old-fashioned roses, and I absolutely love it. But I also love these box pleats. I just think they're so tidy and crisp. I love them. And so I'm just, this is me pointing out that I haven't done the hem yet. And the instructions tell you to do a machine hem, but I'm just going to do a hand stitched one because I just really love the finish. So that's all that's left to do. And also, if you like buttons, then you just sew 2 in or 3. But yeah, I always wear shirts over something else. So, and it annoys the bejesus out of me when I catch the buttons on something because I never actually do them up. So they sort of fly free and catch on everything, which annoys me. So yeah, I prefer not having them. Also, it means I don't have to do buttonholes, which is awesome. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I love this fabric so much. I've got a little bit of it left over. So yeah, if I get too annoyed with this 3D collar, I can take it off and put on a proper, just like a plain boring collar. But yeah, I kind of like this color. I think I want to make a few more 3D ones and try and perfect it. Because yeah, I just think it would look so cool. Could look so cool. Anyway, thank you again for watching. And yeah, from now it's this is my last shirt for a little while. My next video is going to be me making something not fabric into a wearable jacket as part of a sewing challenge. So yeah, that's it's actually not fun. It's very, very difficult, much more difficult than I thought it would be. But yeah, I'm halfway done, so I'm determined to finish. So yeah, for now it's back to the bubble wrap.